So many of us dream of being our own boss, starting up something new that we can call our own. But entrepreneurship can be either a dream come true or a worse nightmare. Carol Roth, author of The Entrepreneur Equation, evaluating the realities, risks, and rewards of having your own business, says that 90% of new businesses, in fact, fail within the first 5 years. She joins us live now from Chicago to give us some insight on how we can avoid being part of that statistic. Carol, thanks for joining us today.
Dan, thanks for having me.
Okay, so there's a few key things that you say that an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur needs to keep in mind. And one of the first things you say is mindset.
Yes, Dan, it's very interesting. A lot of people go into business believing all sorts of myths. They think that they get to be their own boss. They think that they get to do more of what they love. And sometimes they are so intoxicated by their ideas that we actually call what they're doing business beer goggling. They're so intoxicated that it actually looks better to them than it is in reality. So if they go in with this sort of emotional and intoxicated mindset, a lot of times they're setting themselves up for failure.
So how do we go about then kind of getting sober on that? Do we talk to friends, family, mentors that we might want?
Yes, you need your own business wingman, and that can be anybody from somebody who's been there and done that before that you know, to maybe even somebody that you don't know. There are so many resources out there, from Chambers of Commerce to SCORE nationally, SCORE.org, that has volunteers that you can go talk to for free, to even just doing informational interviews. I mean, I always say if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And so if you go and you just do some basic research, talk to people about what it really means to be an entrepreneur and what you can do to stack the odds of success in your favor, you really set yourself up to be a lot more successful going forward.
All right, well, that's a great saying, good to keep in mind. So let's say we get our head on straight and we've talked to some people, but finances, obviously that's a huge component of starting a business.
It is, and finances is interesting because it's really a timing component, and this is something that can change over the course of your life. And so many entrepreneurs jump in when perhaps they've lost a job or they're in a bad financial situation. But this really creates a lot of issues for them, because at the end of the day, you not only have to fund the startup of the business, but you have to fund the operations. And it often takes a couple of years to lay a foundation and actually get that business going, and you have to be able to live in the meantime. So if you're in a situation where you have to decide on whether you should fund your business or perhaps pay your mortgage, that's going to be a lose-lose situation for you. So you really want to make sure that you have your finances nailed down before you take the leap.
And you've categorized people into 3 areas, common money personalities, as you call them. What are they?
Well, the one that afflicts me is El Cheapo,
okay.
And that means that you're somebody who has a little bit of a difficulty parting with their money. You can also have the affliction of having no money or perhaps being careless with your money. And any of these money sicknesses really put you in a bad position, because you start making these emotional decisions and not really worrying about what it takes to actually fund the business. So you really have to make sure that you have your head on straight and not be in an emotional state. And if you have any of these money sicknesses, you may be setting yourself up for failure. So you want to get your relationship with money straight first before you go into business.
Also, you're saying that people need to have a pretty honest grasp on what their experience level is, right? I mean, how important is that?
I think experience is critical. It goes back to the preparation, and there's so many easy things that you can do to prepare for entrepreneurship, to really learn on somebody else's dime that nobody ever really takes the chance to do. Imagine if you want to start a restaurant company. Well, instead of just going and investing 6 figures or maybe 7 figures to start that restaurant, if you've never worked in one before, go ahead and work in somebody else's first. Test it out, see if you like it, see if you can get promoted, see if it's still exciting to you after a couple of months, and then once you feel like you've gained that level of experience, you have more confidence to start a business. Another thing that you can do, Dan, is you can really test the business out on a small scale. So have a limited budget and a limited time frame and say, we're going to test to see if this is really a viable business. So let's say you absolutely love to bake cupcakes. Well, go ahead, bake some cupcakes, try and sell them, see if not only your friends and family will buy them once, but do they come back to you again? Because a lot of times people will do something just to be nice. What you really want to find out is this viable? So are they calling you at midnight saying, I am absolutely dying for the cupcakes, please deliver them to my office tomorrow? That's something that will prove viability and then put you on that right path saying, yes, okay, I know that this is something that could be a viable business instead of perhaps just a hobby that makes a little bit of money on the side.
And very quickly, the importance of personality. How important is that in the success of a startup business?
I think it's critical. I always say, are you Santa Claus or are you an elf? It takes one Santa to pull off Christmas and a whole bunch of elves. So if you're somebody who has the big vision and can wear a lot of hats, and you're like Santa, you may have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. If you're somebody who's like an elf who needs the direction and just likes to execute, you may not want to quit your day job.
Know your role. Carol Roth, thank you for that. Author of The Entrepreneur Equation. Carol, thanks for your insight today.
Thanks, Dan.